Hi, welcome in to this edition of the Milwaukee Bucks on Tap podcast. Corey Mullen, Evan Byrne. Evan, how we doing?
Good. Bucks are on a one-game win streak. Off of work today. Life is good.
Love
I think I've peaked.
to hear it. It's been received a little snow the other day. It's a little snowy, a little cold. A lot earlier than usual, which of course it is.
Now it's ice.
I know. I was slipped I almost slipped in my driveway. All right, let's just get right into it. Evan, as you well know, as we talked about last week, these Giannis rumors are completely dominating the headlines. A lot of trade ideas that people have, and unfortunately, it is kind of seeping into the team. You've heard Kyle Kuzma talk about it. You've heard Kevin Porter Jr. talk about it. So we're just gonna get right into it. So first off, what was kind of reported I think it was reported last week was like Shams was talking about that his agent and Giannis are going to be talking about what's going to be the best course of action, right? If we should stay or should we go? Now this week, Shams was essentially like, now there's some sort of tension in the locker room between Giannis and his teammates and stuff like that. And, then Chris Haynes, who's very close to Giannis, said, that's not, Giannis met with his teammates and stuff like that. And, they kind of sat him down and they had a private discussion. Then Kyle Kuzma came out and said that, that didn't really happen. It wasn't like The Apprentice where he sat us down and had us a private discussion. So, and KPJ kind of had the realist take about this, where he was like, Giannis needs to kind of come out and say something because, look, if we start winning 8 or 9 games in a row, this story dies.
Correct.
So, I guess what's your reaction to all this? And should Giannis be obligated to make a statement about what he wants to do going forward?
Yeah, I think after seeing the KPJ one that you just mentioned about hey, you never know what's going to happen. Obviously, they just beat the Celtics. A good comeback win game. Whether you go on a mini win streak or, you win 4 or 5 in a row, lose one, go on another 3 or 4 game win streak, the tide shift. I think the biggest thing is Giannis kind of mentioning it. I know the only thing I've really seen from Giannis is, guys, let's just focus on basketball right now. Nothing outside of it. So briefly mentioning it, but not basically stating the main fact about it, just kind of talk around it. I would rather just let us know hey, I'm staying. Hey, I want to get traded. A lot of it really is just going to keep going with all these headlines until I feel like he says something or the team comes out and states something that Giannis or his agent strictly say. But otherwise, I just feel like it's just going to be a never-ending cycle of Giannis trade rumors. I see some of the most atrocious trade projections I've ever seen. And it's so annoying just because, again, everything you see is, Bleacher Report came out today. I have it up. It's one player from every team that needs to be traded. And obviously Giannis is that front headline. But then it's also Trae Young, Ja Morant, it's LaMelo Ball. It's every team's top player. Some of them, it's either their top player, a scrub that's okay, no one's ever heard of this guy or is not going to be a game changer. But no, until I feel Giannis comes out or the team itself comes out and says something, it's so hard to agree with some player just because everything else is different coming from them themselves. But we need Giannis or the team to say something. Otherwise, it's never going to end until something actually happens. And who knows when that could be. And again, he's also hurt for a few more weeks too. So it's hard to even decipher what's going to happen with the injury.
And I think the thing that Giannis is grappling with right now is he knows how much the city loves and adores him, right? So I think for him, if he comes out and says, I want to be here, I never want to leave, then all of a sudden, then behind the shadows, he's like demanding a trade. Evan, you know as well as I do. For as much as a city can like build you up and show love to you, they could also be like "f you," okay? And I think really what he wants to avoid is having what happened to LeBron James in his first go around, right? Where oh my God, it was the king of Cleveland, like all this other stuff, and then he left in free agency, the decision, all that other stuff, and burned jerseys, and the city hated him for 4 years. So I think Giannis is trying to avoid that. I don't think he would do an ESPN special. I don't think they would do that again. But what I am saying though is that I just think that he wants to be careful with not stating
saying something.
Yeah, and then having because the thing is, you also don't want to be holding Giannis hostage either. That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing is he said repeatedly that I want to win a championship. Okay, and if the team is competitive for me to win a championship, I'm going to be here for the long term. Okay, now, the Bucks season's ended in April. The past 3 seasons. Okay, I'm technically 3. So I just think the thing that he's just grappling with is look, if we keep getting out in the first round, we're not that close to our ultimate goal of winning another championship. And he's stated that repeatedly. And I've heard a lot of rumors. Right? I've heard obviously the Knicks one, and the Miami Heat. I keep hearing the Miami Heat where I even heard something that he wanted to team up with Luka back in 2020. So it's like I'm hearing all these rumors, right? And I actually just did like a TikTok on a trade rumor today about Giannis for Tyler Hero, Khalil Ware, and Jaime Jaquez Jr. And I'm like, well, that doesn't move the needle for me. Sure, it's 2 young players, but and I also saw Giannis to Golden State for like Kozenski,
Draymond. They're like,
Green,
we're willing to give up Draymond Green.
And I'm like, and I'm saying that, and then they were like, well, Draymond's the only player that the Warriors give up to get Giannis, and I was like, okay, well I will say this: it would improve our defense, our rebounding. And Kuminga is an intriguing young player, so like I get what people are saying. Like, oh my God, you can't trade him for. Here's the other thought I have to this, Evan. Why would Milwaukee help out another Eastern Conference foe? Like that's the other thing people need to think about. Like in trade scenarios like this, John Horst can't be worried about what Giannis wants. Okay. Yeah, I heard Giannis wants to go to New York. All right, but they're also they're also a competition. Why would you help out the Knicks? Like, how would us getting Karl-Anthony Towns and Mikal Bridges? How would that be good for us in the long run? Right. And so if I'm the Bucks and I want to trade Giannis so bad, like it could be one of those switcheroos where it's like he asks for one thing, it's like, all right, well then you're going to the Spurs or you're going to the Warriors or you're going to I wouldn't trade him to I wouldn't do what the Spurs did to Kawhi, and this ultimately ended up working out, but I wouldn't trade him outside the country where it's like, all right, well if you want to go to the Lakers or the Clippers, all right, well I'm sending you to the Raptors. Like I wouldn't do that. And even though the Raptors is a scenario to where the Raptors are actually pretty good this year, but again, I would not trade him within the conference. I think that'd be a huge mistake. You don't want to give, if it works out on the Western Conference, fine. We'll see what happens. But, I just think it's always a mistake when you trade a star player within that same conference. The Mavericks did with Luka. Luka is reaping all the benefits. He's gotten a lot slimmer. He looks a lot better. You don't want the same thing to happen to Giannis. To where we have to play him now 3 or 4 times a year or something like that, or 2 or 3 times a year. And it's like, oh, and all those memories come flooding back of, oh god, that was our guy once. So I just think that if you're John Morris, be careful if you want to trade him to not do it just within that same conference.
Yeah, especially going to a top 3 team like the Knicks.
It's
like, hey, here, top team, take the top guy in the East right now and go for it. I've seen the Kuminga ones. I've seen rumors of potentially then trading Miles Turner for like a salary. There's a whole lot of things. I've seen the Timberwolves was the worst one I've ever seen. Rudy Gobert and Julius Randle. It's like, what are they going to do with Rudy Gobert? I don't know. 2 centers, it won't work. Especially, I mean, obviously one with rebounding because then Miles Turner can sit behind the 3 like he usually does. But no, it's just you see a lot of these. The only intriguing one to me would be to the Hawks again, but that's also Eastern Conference to get Jalen Johnson or Trae Young is intriguing. But yeah, outside of that, I just don't want to think about it.
You said
crazy.
Yeah, you said Jalen Johnson.
Jalen Johnson.
Yeah, I heard Rich Paul talk about that earlier with he was on his podcast with Max Kellerman. He was like, "Oh my God, the Bucks should trade Giannis for Jalen Johnson." I was like, "Okay, Jalen Johnson's a talented player. Don't get me wrong, but I'm like, okay, that can't be the main course. That can't be the main trade though. Like, you got to throw in something else. Like, you have got to throw in something else. Like, it cannot
have to be their whole roster or."
Well, Trae Young
and Jalen Johnson.
If it was Trae Young and Jalen Johnson, okay, all right. Those are building blocks right there that we can. Those are building blocks, but like not just Trae Young. I'm sorry, I don't.
Yep. Yeah, it's one of those things where if you're gonna trade Giannis, you need to get a star in return. It would be a younger star. It would be so hard for how the Bucks roll with like not playing younger players. It would be so hard to trade Giannis for a crap ton of picks and maybe 2 mid-level players, bigger names like Jonathan Kuminga. Obviously not some like superstar player, but a good name to have, or same with Jalen Johnson. But to like have that then start a rebuild with picks for the next 3 to 5 years, it would be so hard because again, one, they don't pick well at all and they trade them. So it'd be different of if they're making these picks, are they going to actually keep them and develop them because you don't have Giannis anymore? Or are they still going to figure out how to draft these guys and essentially trade them for nothing? That doesn't work out. But no, it's such a tricky thing because, again, if they're making a trade, as a fan, I would want someone who is fully capable of running a team like Trae Young. Like you're going to get a big name all-star player back, not just some. I hate the picks where it's picks and 2 guys where it's like, all right, they're not going to have any effect. Who's going to be the guy to run the plays or run the offense essentially when you get someone in return? But the Thunder know how to do it, but the Bucks clearly do not know how to do it. So I don't essentially want that as the main focus if they were to trade him, just because I just don't think the organization would be going anywhere from there.
Yeah, true. And again, I've said they got to get younger. Because look, the other players aren't impressive. I mean, you hear Doc Rivers talk about Miles Turner. He was like, because he was asked the other day, he was like, "Oh, how's Miles Turner?" But he's been okay. There's a lot of things to work on. And I was like, damn, that's not what you want to hear for a guy you just saw.
Cool. Yeah, that's reassuring.
Yeah. You saw that? Like, you got like a $90 million contract or 40 or 50, whatever it was, 70. I forgot what the numbers were, but it was like 4 years. And yeah, I said Doc Rivers like, yeah, he's been okay. There's a few things to work on, but he's been, he's out there.
Cool, thank you, Coach.
Verbatim, that's what he said. Thanks, Coach. But look, Miles Turner, that's who he is. He's a very inconsistent player. He's hot and cold. All right, he can hit a 3, he can rebound, but like, damn it, he can block shots, but outside of that, he's just not like a well-rounded defender. I've stated that repeatedly. He's just not. A lot of offensive rebounds get allowed when Miles Turner's out there. So, I mean, you just got to be. You got to be really careful. The other Giannis, kind of switching for a quick second. The other Giannis thing I saw. So I saw Kendrick Perkins was on the Road Tripping podcast with Chang Fry and Richard Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually going to pull up the clip because this is actually going to be, this actually might help, and then we can react to it after. In case you're wondering what the clip is in regards to, Kendrick Perkins said respectfully, Giannis is a coward because he won't. Yeah. So, this thing's taking way too long to look. So essentially, Giannis called K Perk called Giannis a coward because he doesn't, because he's not saying what his future plans are. Which, Richard Jefferson immediately shot back and was like, he's not obligated to say what his plans are. Now, people will look at that and be like, well, why would he say that? Well, here's why. Kendrick Perkins works for ESPN. ESPN, the only time they talk about the Bucks is Giannis. Okay, if Giannis leaves, they no longer have to talk about the Bucks. They don't do anything for them in the ratings. All right, that's all they've peddled for the past 2 or 3 years. Is the fact that whether it's Sean since he got there, whether it's K Perk, whether it's Stephen A. Smith, they've peddled. They've tried to get Giannis to leave and stuff like that. And that's all. The only time to talk about the Bucks. Okay, they have no respect for the city of Milwaukee. Stephen A. essentially called it a dump and hoped the Nets would win so that he wouldn't have to go to Milwaukee. All right. So, I mean, look, I am aware of how ESPN views Milwaukee. They view it as this, like, crime-riddled city, that, like, a bunch of homicide. Like, I know that's how they view Milwaukee. I don't believe that to be the case. I've been to Milwaukee. It's a beautiful city. Great summers. Summer Milwaukee is, like, there's nothing more magical. All right. I'm not sitting here being like I've spent too many summers in Milwaukee, but like when I've been to Brewer games and stuff like that, I've thoroughly enjoyed myself. So I think people need to like just realize that. And RJ was like, he is none of our business what he wants to decide to do, right? It's not. And I just thought that Perkins was like just dead wrong here. Like to just say that. So have you seen the clip at all?
I saw bits and pieces of it, and it's just again one of those things where it's another clip of Kendrick Perkins spewing something that is just
dead wrong.
Really does not. It doesn't add anything to any situation, and it just makes me not like him anymore. It's not that I ever really did, but it just adds on to the reason as to why I don't like him is a way I should word it. But what you say about Milwaukee is like what Stephen A said. It again, whenever something is posted about Milwaukee, it's always the crime in Milwaukee. It's like I live in Milwaukee. This is my 3rd year living in Milwaukee. Like I enjoy it. I go on walks quite often. I feel good walking around the city. Every city has crime, no matter where you're gonna go. Crazy to hear that. Los Angeles, Atlanta, it's everywhere you go. Chicago, everywhere you go, there's gonna be crime. Milwaukee again with the Bucks in the finals too. It was like the middle of the summer. It was late June, early July too. Great time to be in the city of Milwaukee. But no, just more garbage of get Giannis out of this small market team and get him somewhere like Los Angeles or literally anywhere else, New York, anywhere but here.
Yeah, and to go on to your point, it's like, okay, every city has bad areas, right? Like every big city has bad areas. So like Milwaukee does have bad areas that like nobody traverses down, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there is crime in Milwaukee. I think it's significantly reduced since Cavalier Johnson was elected. But I'm just saying, like it, like of course Milwaukee has bad areas, like as much as every big city does. Like we don't traverse down those, but like it's not like you can't. It's not fair to paint that as a whole for the city. Just like
Yep.
it's not. So, well, and then, geez, I've been seeing so many Giannis things. Well, and then former NBA guard Iman Shumpert thought that Giannis was faking his calf injury so that he could get out of there, which I thought was patently ridiculous. But because nobody wants to play as much as Giannis, so that was, as a guy who used to play, I was surprised to hear that. It's like, all right, well, that's just patently untrue. Like, he's got a calf injury. Like, this is not one of those scenarios where it's like, he's going to come back. He can come back, and all of a sudden, like, he's not. Like, my thing is, like, Giannis is not just going to come back and all of a sudden just get, like, he wouldn't do that, right? And to think that he would fake an injury is just patently absurd. It's funny. It's hilarious. Calf injuries are tricky. Like they truly are. Like calf injury is a precursor to an Achilles injury. So this is one injury you have to be careful of. Because nobody wants to be out on the floor harder than Giannis does, but he's hurt. He's hurt. I don't know anybody who would take a fall like that unless they weren't hurt. Also, and here's the other thing too: how could he be faking an injury when he was diagnosed with it? What? So he never met with the team doctor. So the team doctor,
everything is just.
So him and the team doctors have like this handshake deal of like, hey, look, I know you want to get out of here, but so like I'll just we'll just release
fake diagnose.
We'll just release that have a calf injury, and that you're gonna miss like 2 to 4 weeks. All right, and tell Shams too. If you tell Shams that'd be good. That'd be good. Like that like just none of that happened. Like nobody fakes injuries.
People could think that's real too.
Yeah, exactly. They sit out games. Like okay, there are certain players who will sit out games because they're but I don't even know if I can name one off the top of my head, but I'm just saying, like, there's certain things with Ben Simmons when he went out of Philly, like, just bullshitted in practice.
Yep.
Until he just didn't show up anymore. Then he kept getting fined until the Sixers are all right. Well, this isn't worth it. So then they just traded him. Like at the end of the day, last time I checked, I think I saw Giannis on the sideline there yesterday.
Yep, he was.
He was cheering on his team.
Seemed to be into it too.
Yep. So stop peddling this thing that he doesn't want to be there because a guy who didn't want to be there would have shown up on the bench and supported.
Yep, dapping up his teammates.
So all these narratives and stuff is just complete and utter bullshit. I
think the craziest thing about it is Giannis could literally go to the media and say, "I want to be traded." It's like it's such a thing where it's like he could literally just say that, and you know what? He hasn't done that.
No.
And it has been years and years of this, and he still hasn't said it.
I know. Look, hey, Shams is trying to will this trade to happen. And again, I also there's two schools of thought. Number one, I don't think Shams would lie, but I also think he's kind of falling under the ESPN umbrella where it's like, you're really just trying to push. You're really just dragging this. Like you're really dragging this. Like he's not obligated to speak to the media. Okay. That's why the only words I believe are Chris Haynes, because Chris Haynes is Giannis' guy, right? And wherever Chris Haynes said, I'm just like, all right, I believe you. I believe you until you give me a reason not to. So all right, let's move on to the games because these are kind of the small parts of the Giannis rumors. Milwaukee played. I believe it was last Friday.
Yeah, Pistons and Celtics.
Pistons, Celtics. Not overly close. Evan lost 116 to 101. Paul George, Quentin Grimes especially. Jeez Louise. They really filled it up. Tyrese, again, give them credit. They did a great job on Tyrese in this game. The problem was is they just couldn't stop anybody else.
Correct.
Specifically Paul George, who is not. I don't think he's played back-to-backs or anything like that. Joel Embiid did not play. But, I think that what the Sixers have shown is, like, they are all the way back. They found their dynamic duo with, their backcourt duo, with VJ Edgecombe and Tyrese Maxey. And, I forgot this guy went up. Jabari Walker, who was seemingly hitting every wide open three under the sun. So, what did you see in Milwaukee's loss to Philly?
It was one of those games where I felt like every single shot was going in, even though they shot pretty much the same. A lot of it was just they couldn't miss a three for the longest time, or whenever they would hit a three, it would be in such crucial areas where Bucks are making a little bit of a comeback, and then all of a sudden they hit 2 or 3 threes in a row, and it essentially really does not matter. I think the biggest thing has been the Bucks' first quarter. I feel like the last few games, whether they've won or lost, has been horrible in the first quarter. They've been scoring like 20 to 25 points while giving up 30 plus. So I feel like they just dug themselves so quickly into a hole to start the game off. Again, which usually isn't a bad thing, just because you got, again, 3 quarters to essentially make that comeback. But I just feel like they started off so slow in the first quarter where it's very close to thinking like, all right, well, this game's pretty much wrapped up, or I've seen what I'm going to be seeing the next 3 quarters. So I feel like losing that first quarter, essentially multiple games in a row, has really set them back. That was one thing. And then the obvious one has been turnovers, allowing 21 points off turnovers. A lot of the turnovers also have been steals too, so leading to a lot of fast breaks. It's not just like throwing the ball out of bounds, stepping out of bounds essentially, or shot clock violations. It's just been steal after steal, where I feel like so many possessions have led to easy buckets, which again loses the point of trying to make a comeback. Yeah, 6 fast break points, 21 points off turnovers they gave up, and offensive rebounds. Again, they gave up 11. Bucks had 7, fine. But again, offensive rebound after offensive rebound, whether it's allowing them to score still or just giving them extra possessions, I feel like just taking away possessions for the Bucks themselves just isn't obviously ideal. But no, just a lot of just stupid mistakes where you lose by 15, give up a lot of threes. Again, this is a winnable game. A lot of their games have been winnable. But when you're giving up points to guys who just should not have had 15 to 20 points, it just makes it a lot more difficult, especially with the lack of boxing out and just allowing all these extra possessions or just easy baskets at the hoop or right at the rim. Just makes it, again, a lot easier for other teams to essentially build quick leads just because of sloppy defense or just lack of effort on some of these possessions, whether on offense or defense.
Yeah, and there was a moment in the game where Milwaukee was staging its comeback, and you had Jericho Sims on Paul George.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, number one, that's an adventurous, matchup for PG, because he's like, he's like one of the best two-way players in the game. Like, I don't care how injured he is. It's like, dude, it's still Paul freaking George.
Yeah, it's Paul George at the end of the day.
And the fact that Ajax didn't get more minutes,
mm-hmm.
Because it's like, dude, Jericho Sims. I like Jericho Sims. He can switch on anybody, just not Paul freaking George. I would have trusted Ajax more on that spot than Jericho Sims. Jericho Sims. But again, you have to. But again, it's just one of those things where you just let the other guys go off. And when you do that, when 4 or 5 of those guys go off, you're not winning. Okay. Sure, they shut down Tyrese Maxey, but what Tyrese Maxey performances, like there's a good one from Adem Bona. There's one from Jabari Walker. There's one from Quentin Grimes, who had 22 off the bench. There's one from like Edge. Like, again, you have to, I get that they keyed in on Tyrese Maxey because he dropped 54 last time in an overtime win.
Yeah.
But you have to stop the other players. Those other guys, last time I checked, they're on an NBA roster for a reason. Okay? So you can't just hyper focus on one guy and then just leave Jericho Sims on all island against Paul George. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. That's why Milwaukee lost by 15. Okay? Because they dig themselves. And again, they've done it the last 2 times. They were lucky one last time, but again, they dig themselves in these holes. Okay? And when you do that in the NBA, you could maybe come out with a comeback a dime a dozen, Evan, like Milwaukee did last night. But most of the time, it's not going to work. Okay?
Yeah.
These teams are way too talented. They know how to score. They know how to slow the game down. So it's just not going to work in Milwaukee's advantage to keep finding themselves in these holes and then having to dig themselves out of it.
Yeah, and I feel like with the whole, again, with the last game against the Sixers, again, the Bucks had beat the Sixers like 8 times in a row, and all of a sudden it's just, what do we do now? Obviously, with or without Giannis, it really doesn't make a difference. But again, with you mentioning about Jericho Sims, it's like tall, awkward, lanky center against a shifty small forward. It's like that's doomed for literally anything but what you expect to happen, especially guarding up near the 3-point line. It's just, you're doomed for failure at that point. Really, anyone on Paul George. Same with like Kevin Durant, like DeMar DeRozan. It's like those guys who've just been in the league for so long, like you know what to do when you got these guys on you. So it was, again, set up for failure right at the start, and just again, another crappy loss against the Sixers when I feel like, again, they can beat this team, but it's just they beat themselves in so many situations that allow teams to get easy 10-point leads so fast just because of the lack of effort on some ends of the court, which happens in the next game too.
Our next game, it was a back-to-back, Evan. Obviously, as you remember, earlier in that last week, Milwaukee had a comeback win against the Pistons, where Giannis went out. They won 113-109. The same luck did not happen last Saturday.
Correct.
Milwaukee lost 124 to 112.
To 112. Yep.
Isaiah Stewart basically calling us soft as shit because we were playing zone. And, I'm going to be honest, I can't really blame him. Milwaukee plays a lot of zone. And I'm really trying to find a scenario in which that's worked out well for them. I don't think it has. I do think teams are shooting a lot better. I don't have the metrics in front of me, but NBA teams know how to break a zone though. They're not
correct.
And again, this is not this is not like college where it's like, oh my god, they switched to a zone. Dude, they have NBA level shooters. Why are we going to a zone? Dude, it does not matter. Literally, this is a 3-point shooting league. You know what? Do you know what zone asks for? To shoot from the outside. And to go inside. It also weakens your inside because say if you have a rebound or something like that, since one guy's supposed to get one area of the floor, if rebounds on the other side, they're getting that offensive rebound. That's the thing about zone is it diminishes your opportunities to get defensive rebounds because you have to stay on one side of the floor. So zone in the NBA, I don't know if it's because they're trying to make up for the fact that they're not as good defensively as they once were. But God forbid, zone just does not I don't know how many teams I see playing zone. But as much as I don't like Isaiah Stewart. Like he is right though. I mean, stop playing zone. It's like, dude, teams like talented teams like the Pistons are going to know how to break that easily.
Yeah, especially with like talking about centers shooting threes now. Again, it makes a huge difference. You know, it's way different 10-ish years. Like imagine Dwight Howard all of a sudden 2 years, 3 years later just develops a 3-point shot, and now you're just you're pushing these guys to start shoot more, but everyone can shoot. So I feel like the lack of being able to pick up on who is able to and who isn't definitely makes a difference. And again, missed 10 free throws. They gave up 16 offensive rebounds and a couple steals, just allowing easy baskets. Again, they were in it for a little bit, but again, that first quarter, 22 points. Third quarter, 25 points. Can't really do much when you are scoring under 25 or 25 and under in 2 quarters out of the 4. But yeah, just another lackluster loss that easily preventable, but just certain ends of the floor, they just can't get it done as they should. Again, 25 defensive rebounds. Like, come on, that's not going to do you any good at the end of the day. When you got no one rebounding in a game where your entire team has played.
In it for a little bit, but once the Pistons pull away, man, you're not getting that lead back. That team, as
correct.
Big of a dumpster fire as they were 2 years ago. Like JB Bickerstaff and that general manager is really like to help turn things around. All right, like they have really done like a great job of like turning that entire franchise around, because the Monty Williams era was regrettable. Like it was so bad. The Monty Williams, Troy Weaver area of that franchise was so regrettable. I'm like, what qualifications did Troy Weaver have to run basketball operations? I'm pretty sure he's doing the same thing with the Pelicans now. I'm pretty sure. And I'm like, dude, he has no qualifications. None. Like, you saw how bad he was with people saw how bad he was with the Pistons, right? Look at this. He's executive vice president of basketball operations. The general manager. So he's helped making decisions for the Pelicans. I don't even think the Pelicans have that many wins.
They haven't gone anywhere either.
They're 4-22. How does this guy have another job? That's insane. That's legitimately insane. I'm sorry, but like, I get that executives in the NBA are supposed to be some of the smartest people on the planet. If I saw how big of a dumpster fire that Troy Weaver was for the Detroit Pistons, I would not hire him again. I wouldn't even give him another job in the NBA. Like, how are these guys? It is so frustrating.
Yeah.
Because it is certain positions it's so hard to crack into. And I'm not sitting here being like I could be a GM. But damn it, I think we'd win a little more than 4 games. Like, if Zion were hurt for me every year, dude, after like year 5, I'd be able to recognize what kind of player Zion is. Like, I wouldn't have given him another big contract. But all right, well, this number 1 pick's flaming out. So like, let's see what else he finds on another team. Because like, it does nobody any good to keep hanging on to number 1 picks like candy. Nobody. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Like year 3, you should be able to recognize if a guy can play in the NBA or not.
Mm-hmm.
Like even some of these Bucks rookies, I'm like, well, that guy can't play dead. All right, like, when they drafted Beauchamp, I was like, all right, well, that's not great, because like he came from what was that thing called? Overtime Elite. What was that?
The Ignite.
Oh, Ignite. Yeah.
G League Ignite.
Yeah. You pick up bad habits doing that. What? And where's Marjon Beauchamp now? Like,
G League, probably.
He was on the Clippers briefly last year. I don't even know if he's still on the
Rockets last. Yeah, I want to say the Rockets.
He's on the Rockets right now.
He is
the Delaware Bluecoats.
The Knicks. Yeah, see, he's on the
He's on the Knicks G League team.
In the G League. Yep.
A two-way with the deal. Exhibit 10. Look at this. I gotta wait. Yeah, so he's like the G League, I think, for the Knicks, I believe, if I read that right. But again, we knew.
Yep.
Like everybody was like, oh my god, like, and here's the other thing too that's so misleading. Okay, just because a 11th or 12th guy off the bench plays well against like other 11th or 12th guys off the bench, that doesn't mean he can play well against regular starters. All right, like let's not act like, geez Louise, just because Thanasis has like a blow by dunk, or like a dunk against like the 12th or 13 guys off the bench, that doesn't mean I want Giannis to be a part of the regular rotation. Pete Nance, same thing. Like there's certain guys, you got to fill out a roster. Okay, every guy, like, and again, every 12th guy can probably beat any idiot off the street who challenges them. Don't get me wrong; these are still NBA players. But comparatively speaking, in the NBA, there's not enough room to make every guy a part of the rotation. Okay, you got to bin some guys off. And you kind of know which guys can play and which guys are like, probably a two-way guy. All right, like, and sometimes it just takes a new landing spot to know if a guy could play. Okay, Sam Merrill is probably one of the 12th to 13 guys coming off the bench from Milwaukee. Did not know if he could play. He knew he could shoot. But, but then they traded him. But then, he lands in Cleveland. Now he's one of the best three-point shooters in the league. And he received a second contract. Okay?
Yep.
You don't know until you got to see if the team can develop you first. Okay? Milwaukee's not great about developing young players. All right, they haven't been in recent years. They did a great job with Giannis, obviously, but like other than that, like all their draft picks are basically flamed out. The draft picks from last year specifically, or 2 years ago, I believe it was last year, like are no longer there. Okay.
Yep.
The only draft pick that remains is Ajax, and that's it. But AJ Smith and Tyler Johnson, guys like that, again, they're not there. The guys that they had in 2024, not there. Ajax, still there. But like Marjan, not there. Like DiVincenzo from 18, not there. So it's just like so it's like Milwaukee has to get into the habit now of like, maybe getting a couple draft picks if they want to trade Giannis, drafting and developing them. That's the important thing because let's be honest here, you're going to need those guys. Because if your roster is going to be like Kevin Porter Jr. and Miles Turner and Bobby Portis and Gary Trent and AJ Green and like Cole Anthony and Gary Harris, you're not winning that many damn games. Like,
no.
Like, trust me. I like Kuz and I like Bobby Portis and Miles Turner's been okay, but like you're not winning that many games with that roster without Giannis. Oh, Ryan Rollins. I forgot. I didn't mean to leave out Ryan Rollins. That's still that's not a roster that you can.
Yeah, all right, Rollins.
That is at the very least a play-in team. Okay, like right now without Giannis, they look like a play-in team. But however, against the Celtics last night, they were able to come back. Nice little segue. You got down 14 early. I believe they were down 72-58 at after halftime. The performances of Kevin Porter Jr. and Bobby Porter specifically, BP was like hot. That man could not miss. And Kuz, like I believe both of them set like career highs for the season. So like, what was your reaction to Milwaukee's game against Boston yesterday?
Obviously, that first half was pretty tough to watch. I feel like the biggest thing, again, 11 threes for the Celtics in the first half. It felt like everyone was going in. So many guys hitting shots, and I felt like the Bucks just could not make their own shot. I just felt like it was just forcing up random layups and three-pointers that just aren't there, and nothing was going in for them. obviously it was just because the Celtics were just hitting way more shots than the Bucks were. And then the third quarter happened and they held them to 13 points. Um, the Celtics shot, I think, like 3 or 4 of 25 or 26 from 3 in the second half. They just could not buy a basket to save their lives. And obviously with the contributions of Kuzma, Kevin Porter, and Bobby coming off the bench, it felt like they were all finally playing as a team, contributing the ball more, feeding the guys who were hot. Again, like you said, Bobby cannot miss. He went 11 of 13. And that was later on in the game where he finally missed his first shot. Again, Kevin Porter with a triple-double that no one was talking about. 18 points, 10 rebounds, 13 assists. A steal as well in the mix. And yeah, Kyle Kuzma with 31 also could barely miss. Just a lot of overall contribution, especially because they were not getting it from a lot of other people. Gary Harris, 0 for 3 shooting. Gary Trent had a better game too. Miles Turner, 1 for 6, 0 for 4 from 3. I don't know. 4 points from your starting center in 28 minutes. Not a good look. Especially watching Bobby Portis then do that off the bench in 26 minutes. No, felt good overall, and I felt like their defense really picked up, forced them to take bad shots. Sam Hauser, 0 for 10, 0 for 9 shooting from the 3. Just, again, no one could make a shot. It felt like for quite a while. I think they missed their first 16 three-pointers in the second half. But no, really good turnaround game again without Giannis. Celtics obviously don't have Jason Tatum, but Jaylen Brown is still very capable of leading a team with or without Jason Tatum as well. They're still 15 of 10 without him. But no, really good comeback game. Again, Giannis joined on the bench later in the first quarter, I believe, into it whenever they showed him on the bench. Again, it looked like he wanted to be there. Getting excited for Bobby Portis and all the guys making the tough baskets near the end of the game, especially in that second half. But no, overall good game. Obviously no AJ Green as well. He got hurt 1 or 2 games ago, I believe, with his shoulder. But no, really good game from those 3 guys and super exciting. I saw a tweet that was someone tweeted like, wow, man, what a game from Kyle Kuzma and Bobby Portis. You guys seen this? And tagged every single team in the NBA in like the amongst all the trade talks have been going on. But no, it was cool to see Bobby Portis finally he's had a couple good games this year, but I think this is his first double-double of the season. So it was nice to see a real solid Bobby Portis performance from him, especially against a better team like the Celtics over the last few years with their heated rivalry.
Well, it sucks for Bobby because I know it's coming down. It's going to be 8 points, like 4 of 13 shooting. I know it's coming after this.
Yep.
It's like, oh my God, Bobby Portis. I love Bobby Portis. Then he comes out. It's like, oh geez, 9 point, like 8 points, like
Yep, they gotta bring him back to reality.
100%. And unfortunately, the Celtics. I give them credit because I do a great job. Like their staff does a great job just identifying like unknown guys, like Jordan Walsh. I have no idea who Jordan Walsh was before last night's game, but he can defend. He dropped 20 yesterday, so that should not be overstated. That he that Boston. Like I remember a few years ago when we were talking about this, and I was looking at that roster, and I was like, dude, I don't know half these guys. Like Peyton Pritchard, it's like Peyton Pritchard.
Yeah, I do remember that.
But then I'm like, oh no, never mind. Nope, I'm gonna shut up because like the thing is, Boston, like no matter who it is, whether it's Peyton Pritchard or whether it's Namias Kita, they just do such a good job of just identifying just great talent and putting them on the roster and giving him a chance to succeed. Like Minot, whoever Minot is, like he was pretty. Like he looked pretty good last night coming off the bench. Josh Minot, 7 points. Hugo Gonzalez, who I hadn't really heard of, but like again, he looked solid. Bailey Shireman, who went to Creighton, and he has a long range. Where he didn't do anything last night, but again, they can obviously the one clip that's circulating of Sam Hauser where he missed three baskets in a row, 2 threes, and then like a layup. Like Sam Hauser had
one being a point blank layup.
A rough night. It was a rough night. That was one of those things where, and again, I think Boston only went like 2 of 22 in the second half from 3. Like they were just not hitting anything.
Like, it was bad.
Gross. It was gross. Byington and Marcus Johnson were clowning them. They were like, "Oh my god, 2 of 22." Like it was just such a disgusting display of shooting from Boston. But again, they kept fighting back. I think Bobby told Melanie and Ricks before the game that, hey, we need this one. And they got the win. But now we look forward to a little Sunday afternoon matinee against the Nets in Brooklyn.
Yes. Little matinee game. I feel like the Bucks always have matinee games against the Nets. I don't know what it is. It could just be me, but I feel like the Nets are just that one team where they're always playing on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. And I'm going to be honest with you.
5 p.m. game.
So I don't even know if we talked about this, but last time I don't believe the Nets, like Michael Porter Jr., played at all. The one guy you got to watch out for, though.
Yeah, no, he did not play the last one.
He did not, but Danny Wolf did. And let me tell you something. Danny Wolf was killing us. Like Danny Wolf, I believe, had about I'm gonna guess 27 points. Like Danny Wolf was cooking us from everywhere. And I watched him play last year. I knew how talented of a player Danny Wolf was. But when they played back on November 29th, granted, Milwaukee, this was like kind of their last blowout win that they had.
Mm-hmm.
But Danny Wolf had 22 points off the bench, 8 of 16 shooting, 5 of 9 from 3. They could not stop that man. And the rest of their starters, all the disrespect intended, were sorry. Zion Williams 10, Noah Conley 6, Nick Claxton 7. Terrence, the rest of their starters barely scored. Danny Wolf just dropped 22 off the bench. It was oh my goodness.
I feel like that's always how it goes.
And for some reason, they've given Danny Wolf they've coined the name for Danny Wolf Jewish Joker, which I mean, all right, that's a good one. But the Nets aren't supposed to be good this year. They're not going to be good this year. They're going to be in a multi-year rebuild. Which sucks when you have the talent of when you had a brief run of Kyrie, KD, James Harden, and all of a sudden you just can't. I don't know. You can't.
Yep.
You're never going to be able to come back from that era. Where the New York media was a little too tough on Kyrie. They didn't let him be. They didn't let him be him. Dealt with a lot of personal issues. The Steve Nash era, which didn't work out. And it was unfortunate that era did not work. But now the Nets are kind of fading back into irrelevancy because. I just don't remember the last time the Nets, ever since they're in New Jersey, has been competitive. They had a brief run with Joe Johnson and Darren Williams, but goodness gracious, now ever since then, it's ugh.
Yeah.
So.
It's another purgatory team.
Yeah. So, Evan, do you have anything else?
No, again, game on Sunday, then a little bit of a break till Thursday where I think the Bucks played their last game against they have their third game against Toronto already on the 18th, and then not another game till Sunday. So 3 games in the next week or so.
Yeah. So, all right. Thank you guys for tuning in to this edition of the Milwaukee Bucks at Top podcast. And we will see you guys next